Red Sox Yankee Talk. Sorry. Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Got a couple of guys who are nicked up, might practice today. Do you know who they will be?
Yeah, we got a few guys banged up. When you play 70 minutes of football, you're going to have some guys banged around a little bit. Our guys are a little sore. We'll have a few guys out, but again, we'll see how the week goes, and there'll be a lot more to report with that later.
Got some guys on IR. Will Josh Butler or Carson begin their practice windows today?
We got two guys that we're going to open the window. It's going to be Jonathan Mingo and Kalen Carson. So it'll be exciting to get those guys out there and watch them move around a little bit and do what they love to do.
Diggs didn't start that game, and you said you're going to be hard on him. And we've also talked about Bland. He's only played 2 games. How do you evaluate those 2 guys right now, so a month into the season?
I think it's early in the season. I think the decision with Trayvon was one that like I talked about the other night. It was just expect a lot from him and stay on him about his consistency. And I thought he played really well. I told you guys how proud I was of him. They're both doing really good things. But as a whole, as a football team, as a defense, as a football team, we're not doing enough to win. And so, but both guys are special players that we're very fortunate to have.
Clarence Hill, the LLS Cowboys. Rebel, did he have a setback, or where is he in this process?
No, I think when you look at it, Clarence, he's just going through the process. He's a young player, first time really dealing with something like this. It's just building up to get ready to play football. And a young player, you want to be smart with what you do with him. You don't want to throw him out there into the fire, but he's working his butt off every day to get back, and hopefully that's coming sooner than later.
And I know the numbers say one thing, 40 points, and they scored on every possession in the second half. Did your defense get better throughout the game? How would you look at it?
Yeah, I think when you look at a game, the stats are the stats. You can paint stats into anything you want the stats to be painted into. But yeah, there was things that we did better. Like I mentioned, I thought the first down efficiency was really good. The play style is incredible. Our guys play really hard. I thought the 2 interior guys were great, Osa and Kenny. But I think again, it's just been too much up and down. But yes, there was good things that we did defensively.
Brian, Todd Archer with ESPN. Last week was all about Micah's return here. How much is this week about your return to the Jets?
little different. Wasn't as big of a story when I left the Jets. But it'll be good. There's still some people in the organization I'm really close with, and I like to think this way. I spent 6 years as the OC in New York. I think that's the longest tenured coordinator there since the early 70s. It can feel like dog years at times because they're such great fans, and it'll be fun to be back there. So I guess I was the coordinator there for 42 years. But no, we had great success, man. We won a lot of games, and I'm proud of the fact that we went to back-to-back AFC championships and things like that. But it's about people for me.
And then special teams-wise, we're seeing an increase in the number of blocks all over the place. Is that teams being more aggressive in calling the blocks, or is it early season miscues because there's a lot of new people and new spots in that?
I think it's a little both, but I think early season, they're testing things out. I think we're starting to see a trend, especially like on kickoff and kickoff return, of bigger bodies. It's shorter areas with the way we were having to attack and block and things like that. So you're seeing bigger bodies. But I think it's early season, and guys are attacking different ways that people maybe haven't seen, and usually those things level out and it gets better.
John Machota with The Athletic. When you go back to when you guys added George Pickens, obviously you knew a lot about him, but has there been anything that he's been able to do on the field that maybe has caught your eye that you were like, oh, I didn't know he could do that as well on that level? I
think the way the aggressiveness that he blocks with. He's a big guy. He's got long limbs and long arms, and but he's an aggressive blocker. And sometimes you don't always get that from guys that are viewed as star receivers. And he's not afraid to mix it up. But in terms of the other things, the ball skills and things like that, I think we were pretty certain what we were getting there.
And then in terms of how he did, being your guys' number one in that game, when you go back and watch it, how do you feel like he filled that role?
I thought he did great. I thought he played well, made big impact plays. I think you see the confidence that Dak has in him, and that's something that you expect when you add a player like GP that has that type of talent is getting him up to speed. And, this week we're going to move him around a little bit more. They're probably going to try to match Sauce Gardner on him, and Sauce is a great player, and it'd be a fun matchup to watch.
Nick Harris, 4-Star Telegram. What was it about your experience with the Jets that you think really shaped you as a coach and helped prepare you for this opportunity?
I mean, I think more than anything, Nick, it was just, it was my first time being a coordinator, and when you first sit in that chair, whether it's a head coach, coordinator, quarterback coach, position coach, whatever, like you think you have all the answers. Like I remember sitting in San Diego and Cam Cameron was our coordinator and thinking, man, I would do it this way or I'd do it that way. And then you get in that seat and you're sitting there and something comes across your desk, you're like, damn, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. You're literally learning on the job. And, I think we had some growing pains, and we struggled through some times there, but we ended up, figuring out and doing a great job with it. But, I think that's my first exposure to leading people. I mean, coaching Brett Favre when you're 33 and he's 40, you better be good at what you do and be able to connect with people because, that's a unique age difference. And we had a lot of success together.
And how are CD and Booker's rehabs coming along?
They're doing good. Everybody's progressing well. We'll see, how the week goes. But they're, again, one thing about our guys, man, they're all clamoring to try to get back, and they want to get back. They want to be a part of what we're building and what we're doing, and we'll see how the week goes.
Tommy Arsh, DallasCowboys.com. What kind of a unique challenge does Justin Fields present, and how much has Flus kind of gotten in your ear about the time they spent together in Chicago?
Well, I think number one, there's he presents a number of problems just based on the skill set, the athleticism, the arm strength, arm talent, the ability to improvise. I mean, I know everybody saw the game last week, the long touchdown run he had on kind of a broken play scramble. But the good news for us is no one knows him around the league probably better than Matt, being with him for 2 years. And, it'll be a fun chess match, him versus Justin.
Skylar.
Oh, Skylar, this was JP, sorry. This is not to suggest you're old by any means.
Oh, I am. It's okay. You can suggest that. I am.
You've talked at times about career head coaching opportunities and those kinds of things. And now that you are here as a head coach, how do you look back on that younger time as a younger coach when you were with the Jets? How do you sort of put that in perspective?
Again, I think, like I said, I learned a lot back then thinking that I had all the answers, and hey, here I was, a hotshot 32-year-old coordinator that, after 1 year is getting head coaching opportunities. And, this is a very humbling business. And I think, you guys know me. I talk about being authentic and being humble and all that stuff. And I think as I look back on, there were some great memories and great experiences, but, I never stopped learning. And I think the minute you take yourself too seriously in this business, you're asking for problems because there's too many talented coaches and players and people in this league that when you take yourself too seriously, which I'm sure I did at times, looking back, you're asking for problems.
You talked a little bit Monday about purposeful play calling. It seemed purposeful to try to get Pickens the ball. Was that true, or was that just kind of the flow of the game, the nature of the game, what was there for Dak?
No, I think you're always going to try to get your best players the ball. Sometimes it doesn't work out. That's real. You got to be ready to adjust. But again, I think the more GP plays, the more that we get comfortable, the more that we're able to move him around. That certainly helps us to do that. And in the absence of CD, George is being tasked with more things. But he wasn't the only one that made plays. Again, Flournoy made plays, Tolbert made plays, and I think that's an evolution of an offense. And again, we're a little beat up right now. It's all part of the game. It is what it is, and I say it all the time. It's next man up, and but it's great to see GP's confidence continue to grow.
Garrett
Podell, CBS Sports. Brian, given you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got George Pickens, how does that help you prepare for a wide receiver like Garrett Wilson?
Well, I mean, the corners that we have, talking about Duran, Kyer, Diggsy, they go against great players every day, but each player is different, and Garrett's incredible talent and the ball skills and run after the catch. And I don't know what they're doing at Ohio State, but they produce great receivers every year, man. So kudos to Brian Hartline, the coordinator there that's been developing those guys. But again, each matchup and battle will be different, and again, getting the chance to work against other superstars is helpful.
Speaking of that, you said you face another Micah every week. What's the challenge of Quinnen Williams in the middle for that Jets D-line?
It's a big challenge. No pun intended. Big challenge. Great player. Plays the game the right way. You try to limit his production, but he's so close to the ball, and the power and the way that he attacks, and in this front that they're playing. Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn and Steve are both incredible coaches, and you go back to Steve at Carolina, Aaron at Detroit, the way they play, they use their pieces the right way, and they're usually going forward, and they're trying to dictate the tempo, and that'll be no different. We expect a very physical football game. That's the way we want it to be anyways, and that's the way their defenses have always played.
Joe.
Joe White, Dallas Morning News. One more Booker and Lamb IR question. Usually when people hear high ankle sprains, they think 6 to 8 weeks. Obviously, the fact you guys haven't put them on IR yet suggests it could be less than that. What is there left to be determined in terms of, for those guys specifically, in terms of whether or not you're going to put them on IR?
Yeah, there's a progression, Joe. Obviously, you're in a boot for a little bit, and then you come out of the boot, you start moving, you start raising up on your toe, and then when you do that, you can do more. And again, I think, when you see guys that are doing a good job and you see progress, it doesn't mean they're ready to play today or tomorrow, but it means that when they're really good players, hey, let's be sure. Because what you don't want to do is put an elite player on IR, which both those guys are great players. You don't want to put a guy on IR and then all of a sudden they're ready to go, 2 weeks, but they have to sit out 4 games. That's not a good feeling. So, and as long as they're trending the right way, and which they are, then you give them the benefit of the doubt.
And Jalen Tolbert, someone you've been very complimentary of throughout training camp, obviously had a big game this past quarter, a big catch too. What have you seen from him just this season?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention just, the fact that, he's been through a lot. He came in here having visions that he was going to be the number 2, and then the trade happens with George, and then Terp begins to develop, and so he's been, challenged quite a bit, and he and I have had a lot of talks. He's a special young man, and hey, what can I do? And just, what do I say? Keep being consistent, keep being you, don't change, and his time's going to come, and now his time is coming. And again, we don't, we're not as good without JT out there. JT does so many good things for us. It doesn't always show up in the stat line, but there's so many things. And I think that's a good lesson for young players, because a lot of times young players, they get frustrated and they're like, why aren't I playing? Or why aren't I part of this business is you're always looking to upgrade your roster. And great example. You trade for a guy like George Pickens, and the next thing you know, you got to have a hard conversation with JT. But that's what we do. We have a hard conversation, and you say you're still very valuable to this football team. It just might be at a different style some weeks, and then other weeks, all right, now you're next man ready to roll.
Adam Russell with Spectrum News. I'm curious, Brian, when you guys, you and Clayton, are talking about running backs, how they're going to fit in the run game and how you want to do things, is this basically what you'd envision for how Javonte has just ascended these first few games? Yeah,
I think it didn't take me very long to realize how talented Javonte is. I get asked all the time because there's different ways to do it, different people, philosophies around the league of do you have a bell cow or do you play multiple people? Javonte's kind of become the bell cow for us, and that's not to take anything away from Miles or Jaden or Hunter Lepke and some of those other guys, but like Javonte is just playing with supreme confidence, and the physicality that he brings is so impressive. And what I love about it is here's a guy that, again, other players that are banged up right now can look at a guy like Javonte, who a couple years ago deals with a devastating injury, and you think, man, I'm a running back, what's this mean to me? But you just keep working. Then the team that drafted you says, yeah, we're going to let you go someplace else. We're there waiting, saying, yeah, let's give it a shot. And then I think it was probably second week of training camp. We were sitting in a personnel meeting with the coaches and Jerry and Steven, and we were talking glaringly about Javonte because of the way he practices and plays the game once you put the pads on. Yeah, he's a stud.
Anything that surprised you or maybe you've come to appreciate more just as you've gotten to know him as a person?
Intelligence, the football intelligence is off the charts. You know, like there's nothing that gets him off. He sees things well. He communicates what he's seeing on game day from a run standpoint, from protections. He's just an absolute joy to coach. He really is.
Ed Werder, WFAA. Dak leads the NFL in a lot of categories. One of them is passing attempts. He's averaging 43 a game. How much of that is a function of that's how you want to play on offense, and how much of it is that's the way you've had to play because of the defense giving you so many points?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's how we want to play. I don't think we want to throw the ball. Would you say 40-something times a game? Yeah, 43. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's how we want to play. I think we want to be a physical football team that pounds the football, uses our action passes to create explosives, but I think it does show you we can play the game however the game needs to go, Ed. I think that's important, that we can adjust. The Chicago game's the big one that jumps out at me in terms of we had to go in the fourth quarter, so those numbers get elevated. Plus you're playing into overtime 2 of your 4 weeks. And so as we've all learned, those overtime periods go fast, and so there's a little bit more that you do in that regard from passing. But no, you asked the question, it's not how I would love to. When we put it together on the board, we don't see 43 passing attempts a game.
Cal.
Guyton, is he still in the concussion protocol?
Is. Yep, still in the protocol. Yep.
Malik, will we see him this Sunday, or I think you said
yeah, same thing. You know, we've got to get through the week and see how he's doing. But we're banged up, and again, we're prepared to go into battle with whoever we got. And these guys, like I said, are doing everything they got to get ready. But it'll be an interesting week to see how it plays out.
One more about the Jets. Any regrets on how you had head coaching opportunities, I believe, there? Any regrets on, I'm away, you know?
I think I've been asked that before. No, I really don't. I mean, I think, like I said many times, I'm way more prepared now. I did think I'd missed my window. I'll be very transparent about that. I thought that my window had passed me by. When you're winning divisions and stuff in Seattle and you're not getting interviews and, you know, the phone's not ringing when you're having success and, you know, you're the coordinator for one of the best offenses in the league and you're not calling the plays, which is a big factor of it. I totally get that. But I did think that my window of opportunity might have passed me by.
You talked about tackling the other day. How do you improve at tackling without tackling?
Yeah, well, you do tackle, but you don't tackle live. You do tackling drills. You can do it with bags. You can do it with people. But it's more of the video actually is very powerful because you can show them their strike zone. You can show them where they're hitting as opposed to where they're supposed to be hitting. It's like anything. If you grab somebody up high and they're big, strong men, which most of the players in this league are, the knockback that we talk about where you're knocking them either sideways or backwards, that's not going to happen. The best way to get them on the ground is to wrap them up, tie their legs together where they can't go anywhere, and they're forced to, you know, be restricted in movement, and then that's when the other guys, which is why we run so hard to the ball, they come and they knock the guy back, but also they punch at the ball. I think the biggest thing that I'm, you know, expecting and waiting for is we're doing a great job, Todd, at punching at the ball. We're just not getting the ball out. It's not for lack of attempts. If you watch our film, you see guys very intentional with their eyes and their wrist is below their elbow and they're looking right at it, and there's some good punches. We just haven't gotten it out.
Measure? Do you count that? Like, you know, how you have those stats that we don't see. That
Yeah,
how many times you made
absolutely.
an attempt? So how many have you attempted?
Absolutely. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there's been a bunch, and it's something that, you know, Nick Sorensen, going back to my time with him in Seattle, is really good at that. You know, he's the guy that talks to the guys on Thursday, because Thursday is either turnover or no turnover Thursday, and he always does a session in front of the group, and he talks to the offense about ways to protect it. He talks to the defense about ways to take it out, and really grabs clips from all over the league, just showing the trends and tendencies of how it's coming, because it's that important.
You've committed the receiver room on how they stepped up in CD's absence. When Jonathan Mingo is ready, is there a consideration to taking a roster number away from another position, or do you try to keep those pretty concrete throughout the year?
No, we're open to all sorts of different things. I think, you know, I'm just excited to have Jonathan out there again. I know he's really excited. He has not played football in a while, but, you know, I know he's really, really excited, so we'll see how he does. And this is not something like, obviously he's going out there to practice, but we knew this was coming at some point, so he's been working incredibly hard in the classroom, spending time with, you know, the walkthroughs and things like that. But again, we're not going to force anything. We're going to be smart with what's in the best interest of the players. And but he's clamoring to play.
I know when it was 16 games, coaches used to take the season in quadrants, 4, 4, 4. I don't know if you still do the first 4 or whatever else, but how would you assess the first 4, and what do you say we need to build off of?
Well, certainly not good enough because we're judged on winning. I'd say, the consistency's not been there, and then really the thing we have to do, I talked to the guys about today, is we got to learn how to finish and how to win. And, a big part of that is, just the accountability of everybody being together. I talked to the guys today, really, and said, when it becomes more about winning for my brother, or it becomes more about the team winning than about personal success, which is what our guys are doing. I'm not saying they're not. That's when it means more to you. But, in every phase, there's things we're doing well. In every phase, there's doing things poorly. In coaching, there's things I'm doing well. There's things I'm not doing well. There's things Flus is doing well, Clayton, Nick. But as long as we don't ever get tired of the grind and the pursuit of excellence and the pursuit of building a championship football team, we'll be okay.
All righty, thank you.
Thanks, guys.